2024 is overflowing with amazing games, and we're not even halfway through. So join us as we reveal our favourite games of the year so far. This is the PlayStation Access Podcast. Hello and welcome to the PlayStation Access Podcast, the official podcast of PlayStation UK. I am your host, Rob Pearson, and today we are joined by David Jackson.
Hello.
And Rosie Caddick.
Hello.
The three amigos.
Yay!
That's right.
Let's
Back
go.
once more for the first time in ages.
Has been a while, hasn't it?
We are-
You keep replacing me with more interesting people.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dave.
Yeah,
It's
no,
the
it's okay.
perfect time, I think, though, in this episode to take stock, because believe it or not, we are nearly halfway through 2024.
I don't want to be one of those people, but I honestly can't believe it.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Time marches on.
In our main feature today, we are going to be discussing our favourite PlayStation games of the year so far. We will then be taking a look through the comments of the week, which are community highlights from the hashtag Pod Squad.
Pod Squad.
We've not said that for ages.
No, we haven't.
We've then got another fun round of Clue Countdown.
Oh,
That you can both
like the one I did
enjoy.
with Adam.
Yes.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun doing this
I don't know
Clue
if you
countdown.
saw that bit, Dave.
I did, yeah. It was a fantastic podcast, by the way.
Oh,
I
thank
really
you.
enjoyed
Thank you.
the last
We're both
podcast.
saying thank you, really.
It was Adam.
It was Adam.
It's
Thanks,
Adam who's
Adam.
saying
Great guest,
thank you. And then we'll be chatting a little bit about other things we've been up to in Before We Go. But before we even get to that, it's time to ask the eternal question, what's new? So what's new this week? Rosie and I, we've both been recently to some video game concerts.
We have
and I
been.
thought we should talk a little bit about those. You went first, so you should go first.
I went to the Elden Ring Symphonic Adventure. I was like, was it Elden Ring Adventure Symphonic? I was like, no, that makes no sense at all. So I went to essentially the Elden Ring concert, and it was phenomenal. I went with Amy, who you might remember for being here on our Rebirth podcast
The
episode.
Spoilercast episode,
That's
yeah.
the one. So I went with Amy. We had a lovely time, and the music was just, it was glorious. It was really, I think the thing I really like the most about it was, first of all, seeing the action from a From Software game, but having the music singled out from it. So because when you're playing these games, you're so focused on the battle, it all just sort of merges into a big cinematic experience, big music, big bosses, and like it all just merges into one ultimate experience. But to have the music sort of just singled out, it was so wonderful just to focus on that. And being the Symphonic Adventure, what I didn't realize when I went there, I was like, they're just going to play music from the game. But no, what they actually did is they went through the whole game, and they just played the music that came with the scene. So when you're in Limgrave, they started out with just the lovely music, including the little like
How long were you in this concert for? 100 hours?
No, it was like, I think maybe it was like 2 and a bit hours in total or something. I can't fully remember.
So whistle-stop tour of Elden Ring.
Well, no, you'd be amazed by how much they condensed in. So they started with Limgrave. The capture artist was fantastic. Like, the way they did it was that they just had key moments from each areas, or key enemies, or things that you experience and stuff when you're wandering around. And when it came to like the boss fights themselves, it was fully just this really well put together edited piece. They had different camera angles. For example, when the Tarnished was like pulling a bow and arrow or something, it like zoomed in on them for a bit. And it was amazing how many attacks, whoever was playing it, how many attacks they just jumped over. As in, so you guys, know Elden Ring?
Oh, yeah.
When there's like a big swooping attack, you'd like, I've got to dodge roll it or block it. No, this guy literally jumped and it avoided the whole attack.
So it was like a kind of tips video as well.
Yeah,
A tips
literally.
experience.
After
An
the experience.
Elden Ring master at work.
Yeah, they were really a master. And honestly, after the show, everyone who I spoke to, who I knew, who also went to it, we all said, you could jump over that attack? What? So it was amazing just to see.
Got the orchestra there like, look at us.
Yeah.
Listen to this. This is amazing. And everyone's like, wow, look at this gameplay. It's amazing.
You can jump, but the music was phenomenal, and it's always great fun, isn't it, to look like at the orchestra and then also at the gameplay, and then look back at key moments from the orchestra and see them just doing their amazing work. It was so enjoyable. I loved it so much. And yeah, just the music was so good.
Yeah.
So good. So loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I went to the Last of Us concert, which was part of the Game Music Festival at the Royal Festival Hall. And I had no idea before I went that Gustavo Santaolalla was actually going to be there.
That's very cool.
Performing. And he was.
So good.
He like walked out and the amount of standing ovations he got. It was amazing. It was like, I thought, standing ovation. At the end, I'll give a standing ovation. But it was like by halfway through, it was like every song, everyone was just like, oh my God. And it was amazing. It was very much like a mood piece for the first half an hour or so. It's just a selection of music. It was the Last of Us theme played by an orchestra and by Gustavo Santaolalla, and he would just change instruments and just play the Last of Us theme on a different instrument, and it was amazing. It was just like, you got so immersed into it, you could just imagine yourself in all of these moments. And there again, like you were saying, Rosie, there were certain motifs and certain themes that I hadn't realized had sunk into my being like they did until they started playing them. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, it's this bit. Oh, it's the bit of music from that really sad scene. And it was amazing. And then about halfway through, Gustavo was like, I'm going to play you a song now that I wrote many years ago, but I just feel like it fits the character of Joel really well. So it wasn't from The Last of Us. It's just a piece of music that he's written in the past that he was like, this fits Joel. And he just belted out this absolute banger of a song. I had no idea he was also a singer. I just thought he was a composer, but he's a singer-songwriter. And his voice is absolutely amazing. He sung this song in Spanish whilst just playing it on the guitar. It was, I was looking at the orchestra sitting around him, like people on the double bass, on the cello, just like sitting in awe of him. Yeah. It was amazing. That was for me, the best bit of the whole concert was just him on his own playing a guitar, belting out this song. It was absolutely amazing. And afterwards, there were loads of people around me just like in tears after the concert. It was a very powerful
mission
experience.
Accomplished.
Yeah.
Goes Gustavo.
Love that. Would love that when there's tears.
Everybody's
Came
crying.
on, played his guitar, made everyone cry, waved, and went.
You reminded me as well with the Elden Ring concert as well. They had like the standing ovations in between certain segments, but at the end, they did the composer did the thing when he walked off stage and then, oh, do you want one more? And then he came back on, and they didn't even say what this song was called, but it wasn't a piece like that was in the game, and so I believe that it was like we got a snippet of a DLC song, which was very, very exciting. Everyone was just there listening just to the song, and then afterwards we were all just like, is this maybe from the DLC?
That?
What was that?
That?
Like just a small little snippet, but that's all we needed, and we were all like, so loved it.
Wow.
And yours sounds absolutely amazing as well.
I love a video game concert. There's a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth one happening later in the year as well, which I'm really hoping to go to.
We should go.
I'd love to go to it. What an amazing soundtrack. Have you ever been to a gaming concert, Dave?
No, I haven't. I've been to classical music concerts. I've been to film music concerts, but never a video game concert. But I was going to say, just like, I hope so. I was going to say, it's just, there's something very special about live music. I think in all its forms. I mean, I love bands and all kinds of music, but something particularly special about an orchestra, mostly because the sound is just, you can just, most other forms of music, unless it's like just someone in a room or maybe like a group of acoustic musicians in a room, there's like some kind of equipment involved, like electronics, microphones, all this kind of stuff. And then you get the sense in these amazing concert halls that are built for this kind of music, for that kind of performance. You're just seeing, it's just coming straight from someone's hands or mouth to your ears. And the way that they all work together, it's an absolute, just, I think it's an incredible masterclass in kind of like human accomplishment, really. Just that it's transcendent, I can't say it. What is it?
Transcendental.
Yeah, that's it. It's that one.
Yes.
It transcends.
I was going to say that. Yes.
Yes. But no, I haven't been to a video game one, and I would love to. I'd really love to go. I mean, there's so much amazing video game music. We've talked about this a lot because it really deserves its moment. And I really liked what you said, Rosie, just about, because a game like Elden Ring has amazing music, but often I'm quite stressed
Yeah.
when the good music's happening. I'm not going da 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 da, you know, and like enjoying
Unless
it.
you keep
Going,
on
"This is
dying
great."
and then you
I'm
hear
going,
the same
"Oh, God."
part at the beginning, you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
as you approach the boss again. Like,
So having that sort of moment for the music to be like, this is, just listen to this. It's
Yeah.
great and enjoy it. Whilst also getting a masterclass in how to play the game.
by jumping.
Sounds very good. Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
also apparently a Baldur's Gate 3 concert, I believe, on the same
It was.
day.
It was the same day as the Last of Us concert.
Oh, wow.
I didn't stick around for that one, unfortunately.
No, I've heard that it was like completely sold out. I think all
Yeah.
these concerts have been completely sold out. So that one.
We've got to be very agile
Yeah.
if you want to get to
Yeah,
a
gotta
video
be
game
quick.
concert.
But yeah, slightly off topic, it reminded me of a performance I went to recently that my daughter performed at, and I thought it was just going to be, you know, you go along to these school choir performances, and you're only going to hear your own kids sing, really. You're not really interested in anyone else's kids. Like,
Absolutely
yeah,
not.
I'll go, I listened to my daughter doing a song, and it was at Malmesbury Abbey, which is quite a beautiful location for this to happen. But it turns out it was 3 school orchestras singing alongside Malmesbury Abbey Music Society, which is a string quartet, I believe, of classical musicians, headed up by a guy called Michael Bachman, who actually has an MBE. He's like, turns out to be this world-class violinist.
Wow.
And so the
Wow.
concert was me sitting in this 900-year-old abbey, this beautiful vaulted ceiling, listening to this incredible classical violinist. He did a piece called The Lark Ascending, which lasts for about 12 minutes. And honestly, it was the most amazing thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. I
So-
have actually heard that bit of music as well. It's a beautiful bit of music.
And-
Were you still looking for your daughter at that moment?
Oh no, I'd forgotten about it. I was like,
Wow, look at this.
all the kids were bored out of their minds. All the kids, oh, for God's sake. All the parents were just there silently weeping at
Oh
this
my
incredible
God.
bit of music. But it does make me think, we should go to more. People should go to more
Oh,
live
yeah.
music.
Yeah.
I know.
Anyway, video games.
Yeah.
Video
Yeah.
games. We've got the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium update happening soon on the 21st of May. And included in the game catalogue this month, we have just the small matter of Red Dead Redemption 2,
Wow.
which is an amazing game. And if you haven't played it yet, you've got to play it.
Yeah.
And also you've got to watch Dave's meticulously researched and crafted tips video.
Thank you.
Which has been on the channel for many years.
It has. Thanks for giving me my moment, Rob. Voiced by you.
Yes.
Everyone, all the comments, if they're nice, are always like, classic Rob, this great video. Great video. This guy knows his stuff. I actually learned something. Thanks, Rob. So thanks for letting me have my moment. That's right. I thought you were going to say something mean about how I've killed many horses or that expert bit of dynamite handling.
Oh, you said that yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. But you actually were just very nice.
Everyone knows those bits.
But what they don't know is it was your tips video and not Rob's.
It was, yeah. I hated making it as well. I thought many times I was like, no one's going to watch this. It's too late. Oh, it's not a good video. Oh no! And then I made it, and it did quite well. So
It's done very well.
that's my
Well
story.
done, Dave.
Go
And well
watch
done,
it.
Dob, for Dob. Well done, Rob, for voicing it.
Thank
Yes,
you,
that's right.
Rosie. Yeah.
Well
it was-
done,
It was
team.
very hard. It was very hard for me to do that. So yeah, go and play Red Dead Redemption 2 if you haven't already.
You got to.
But we are about to head into our main feature. So yeah, as I mentioned in the intro, we're already nearly halfway through 2024.
I don't like it.
And
I don't like
with
to think about it.
Summer Games Fest coming up imminently, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
The possibility of lots of exciting new games being revealed. Soon we are going to be, I feel, looking ahead to
Yeah.
new games. So I wanted to take this opportunity to look back at the first half of 2024, because already it's been an incredible year for video games. I mean, last year I thought was one of, if not the greatest year in terms of just the quality and the amount of games that were released. But we've already had some absolute bangers in 2024 as well.
Yeah.
So I just want to go around everybody and chat about what have been your favourite games of the year so far.
Go on, Dave.
I'll start with my runner-up game of the year.
Oh, we've got a runner-up.
Yeah, because I just loved it so much and it caught me off guard, and I got the platinum for it. on the stream during our Platter Week was, of course, Prince of Persia.
Oh, yes.
The Lost Crown. Yeah. And like I said, I guess, first of all, it really brought home to me that I love Metroidvanias. I was playing it, I think because it's a masterclass in Metroidvanias. It's so incredibly brilliantly paced, I think. And I think that's very important for a Metroidvania. You know, obviously, you never want to be frustrated in a Metroidvania where you're coming across an area you can't access yet. You want it to be intriguing and fun and cool, and to unlock a power that then means you can go there and remember, like, oh, I saw one of those things. And like, you want loads of systems that enable you to do that easily. And I think it's a very difficult thing to pull off. There are loads of brilliant Metroidvanias, but this is, I think, one of the best, because it just really understands how the player is going to experience the game, what they're looking for, what's enjoyable about this genre, and it gives you loads of cool sort of tools to make navigating it very easy. Again, I just think they really understand the player. Like, for example, it's got this kind of built-in function. It's a currency within the game, an action to take a screenshot and instantly put it on the map. You don't have to be in the map to do this. You have to, like, I think it's hold down on the D-pad, because it wants you to come across things you don't understand yet and mark it and go, what is this? And it also has like a key system where you can make your own custom maps. But this thing in particular, taking a screenshot of it, is something that you upgrade as a skill. So that's like another currency in the game. I think it's just it just shows the developers really understanding that not that you're going to come across stuff that you don't understand and you want to mark it, but like, you need to see it and remember it and think about what it means. You need to be able to see it later on, but also kind of be sparing about that. I don't know, I just thought it was like a really clever system that I haven't seen in a game before. And it looks, beautiful. It's got loads of... it's got one of the best designed levels I think I've ever played. And I mean that from a visual point of view. One of the most stunning aesthetics in a level I've ever seen, which is a storm on the ocean during a battle between two ships that's frozen in time. So you can walk on the water because it's frozen in time, and there's like these massive galleons that are like exploding, and there's lightning that's kind of paused in time on its way down to reach the ocean. I just thought and that is like probably the most beautiful level in the game, but it's indicative of the whole aesthetic of that game. It's so beautiful, it's so thoughtful and creative. I just had the most fantastic time with it, and getting the platinum was a real like joy, apart from when I almost thought I'd messed it up.
What happened?
First of all, I never set out to get a platinum, so I just played the game and I was enjoying it and thought, I'll get the platinum, and I hadn't kind of kept track of some of the collectibles, and I had to make a spreadsheet to get the platinum for our stream, and I set out to I ended up making this quite a sort of just cumbersome kind of idea for how the stream was going to go, and it would only work, I had to get like 12 trophies, but I could only get them, I mean, Rosie, you were there. You could only get them if
it was very intense, but when you got
like
it,
all these things had to line up, and then all the dominoes would fall and I'd get like 12 trophies or something, and there came a point where it became apparent that I had miscalculated something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was stressful. But we fixed it. We got the trophy.
It wasn't like an item you were missing,
There was an item I was missing, and
like
I didn't know I was missing it. Anyway, it's a fantastic game, and I do think that it just was a bit overlooked, which is why, not the only reason why I wanted to highlight it in the podcast. It's definitely my runner-up game of the year so far, but I do really think people have overlooked it for some reason, and you've got to give it a go, because I think if you like Metroidvanias, you have to play it. I won't accept no for an answer.
I must admit, I don't have much experience with Metroidvanias, and recently playing Tales of Kenzera Zao, I sort of had my eyes opened to how good this genre could be. And so I've got Prince of Persia lined up.
I really
ready to play. I really want to give it a go.
I really think you enjoy it. The game feel as well, just moving around the world, they've nailed. Just the feel of jumping, and again, like just giving you those skills. Every time you get a skill, it feels like Christmas. It's like getting the double jump at last. You know there's a double jump. You know, come on, game. I know there's a double jump in here. Why don't I have it yet? And then you get it, and it feels so good. Sliding around the levels, the dodge, the parry, the fighting. I think the actual kind of boss fights. I say this as someone who doesn't play beat 'em ups, but they felt very kind of beat 'em uppy to me, like learning the moveset of the bosses. I mean, that's just like bosses, but in particular, it felt kind of like a bit like beat 'em ups, like learning the parry system, timing your special moves. It's great. It's a fantastic game, and it's earned its spot as my number 2.
So far.
Rosie,
do you have a runner-up of your game of the year so far?
I do. Well, technically, I have lots of runners-ups. So
you know, Rosie.
I know. I was
Rosie.
Gotta have special mentions.
But like, honestly, the beginning of this year has been such a rosy year with releases. So like, some of the runner-ups have been like Tekken 8. You know, we got Tekken coming back. How fantastic is that? And it expanded on the story, going into Jin Kazama and Kazuya, like fight away and stuff. That was great fun, and it's just a really great fighter. We've had Persona 3 Reload, which was fantastic, and I watched my boyfriend play that one. I didn't actually play it myself, but I watched him play like 80% of the story, and then, you know, he was doing the RPG grinding whilst I was in bed. But what a fantastic story and game that is, and I love the characters, and it's the soundtrack I've listened to the most this year. Persona 3 soundtrack, beautiful. There's also another game that's my runner-up, but I think Rob might mention that later on. And Tomb Raider Remastered as well.
How presumptuous of you, Rosie.
But the runner-up I've gone for is a game that came out very recently, and I just thought it was so refreshing to have a game like this come back, and I thought it did it so well. I just had such a wonderful time with it, and it is Crow Country. I absolutely loved it to pieces. When I played a section of it before the podcast, when we had Adam joining us in the last episode, I was saying to Secret Boss, like, I want to carry on playing. I'm so hooked on this story and this mystery, and it felt fantastic to have a puzzle in like this PS1 era survival horror and actually have to write down notes and things as well for puzzles. And then even when I was playing it, I came across another puzzle and I thought, I had a document that showed me a secret for this, and I knew it was somewhere. So then I had to try and retrack my thoughts, you know, not like I didn't screenshot it or anything, so I had to fully run through the whole area being like, was it here, was it there? And the way the game just keeps on expanding and catching you off guard. I fully had one moment, I was playing it like in the evening, you know, turned off all the lights to get in the atmosphere, and there was a jump scare and it really made me fully scream, and then my hands did like the post-shock clamminess, and I was fully just like you know, when you immediately go into the inventory menu as well just to calm down a little bit. So yeah, I thought Crow Country was absolutely fantastic. It was so brilliant to just amongst this palette we've had this year of loads of huge 100 plus hour games and RPGs and all these beautiful experiences. It was just really nice to have another beautiful experience, but for something that was, again, back to the survival horror, the PS1 era. And as someone especially who's a fan of PS2 era games, it just felt like such a beautiful homage to so many things. There were moments where I was like, oh, this is like Silent Hill, this is Resident Evil, the characters are like Final Fantasy 7, oh, this is like this and this. So it was just, I loved it to pieces. Great time, and I'm hoping to get the platinum for it, but at time of recording I don't know what the trophy list is yet.
No.
And I know, Dave, you've also played Crow Country.
I have. I so enjoyed the podcast with Adam. It really made me want to play, and I played it, and I also have finished it. I loved it as well. It's a fantastic game. It's interesting because maybe I don't have such an affinity with the PS1 era horror games. I was too scared of Resi 1 and 2 to play them at the time, and never touch Silent Hill or anything, and have tried since and have bounced off through fear. And I think everything you said is exactly right, Rosie. But one thing that particularly struck a chord with me is that it really respects its gamers, in as much as, like you said, it doesn't ever really spoon feed you anything. And there's loads of stuff that you can easily miss that's there if you keep. And I find that so rewarding when you go, oh, hang on a minute, like those like things are stacked up in a certain order over there, and I saw that like in this, what's that, are they related? And then solving a puzzle like that is great, and you don't need to do that, it's not, you can finish the game without having done that. But I think that level of respect for players is like really important to me. I love when games come with this extra layer that if you kind of find it, you can have a lot of fun with it. And I actually played the with combat mode, and I found it a bit scary at times. I could only play it in sort of like 1 hour chunks, and then I'd be like, oh, I need to have a break. But I'd love to try the no combat mode, exploration mode, and see. And I kept thinking about that as I was playing the game and thinking like, everything really is still here. There's still the mystery, there's still the characters, there's still the story, there's still the puzzles. I can totally see how this game will work without combat, which is a real interesting kind of achievement, really.
Yeah, and the way that, like I was mentioning, the way they evolve this, because really it's quite a small map. It's quite similar to Resident Evil 1, which is just based in the mansion. This is primarily based in a theme park. And then just as you progress with the game, a moment where it's like a story moment's happened, or when you go outside something different's changed, like the way that they've done that, or you see a character who you've never seen before just in the corner somewhere, or just lurking around. You're like, who's this? What's going on here? And the way the atmosphere changes. It's such an atmospheric game. I have to say, the atmosphere in it is so good, and also the music in it is so good as well. So I think I chose that as my runner-up just for it being such a refreshing, like, brilliant experience. Loved it.
Talking about games that respect the player, my runner-up is Dragon's Dogma 2. Which is another game that I found refreshingly challenging when it comes to it not holding your hand when you're looking for solutions to quests. For example, there's one that always sticks in my mind where you reach a checkpoint town and the item shop guy, his nephew's gone missing. His nephew's been taken by some wolves. And typically you'd have like a waypoint that's like, okay, you've now spoken to the item shop owner, now go here. That's where the wolves will be. Kill the wolves. Now go here. That's where the nephew will be. Save the nephew. But it doesn't do that. You just get a little hint that, maybe you should speak to some of the people in this town. Maybe they've seen something. Maybe they know something of the local area. And so you speak to some people. A couple of people have seen this kid out in a certain point on the hill near the town. Someone else saw him picking a certain type of flower. You go out and explore the local area and you see those flowers growing and you notice, these flowers, they seem to glow in the dark. And maybe I'll follow the trail of glowing flowers, and none of this is spelt out to you. You have to work all this out for yourself. And if you take too long to do it, which I did, you get to the cave and the boy's dead.
See, I'll always remember...
He's been eaten by the wolves, and all that's left is a little scrap of t-shirt.
I'll always remember that side quest because I came across that when I wanted to wrap up the game for bedtime. I wanted to wrap up the game. I thought, I'll go into this town. It was night, so I went into this town, thought, I'll buy something from the shop owner quick, but the shop owner's the one who gives you the quest. So it was nighttime. I wanted to go to bed. It was nighttime in the game as well. Went to the shopkeeper, and then it was a timed quest, so I thought, I've got to do this now, otherwise this poor child's gonna die. So then it was way past my bedtime. I was trying to figure out all these local villages.
I'd love to do a montage of things that have happened way past your bedtime.
But then you have to talk to the villagers, and I was like, well, someone just tell me where this child is. The wolves have taken them. I want to go to bed. And then so just hearing you say everything, I managed to save the child, but hearing you say all this stuff, and then you had to escort them back to the village. I was like, I want to go to bed.
Yeah, I didn't have to do that because they were dead.
Rosie, I just need to know that when you turn off the PlayStation, time stops for the characters in Dragon's Dogma 2.
I didn't know that. It was my first time, apart from the very beginning of the game where it's like, here's the tutorial, time quests are the thing. It was my first timed quest.
I see.
Not in the first area, and I was fully just like, if I save it and I come back and then it's daytime, is the child gonna die? So that's what I just had to go.
Rosie may have been burned by Metal Gear Solid 3 in the past, which has the PlayStation clock going in the background.
Yes.
So there's a notorious case where you're fighting the end, and if you don't play the game for 2 weeks, or if you edit your PlayStation's clock to 2 weeks forwards, he just dies of old age.
That is very cool.
Also, all of the food that you've collected rots and goes bad if you don't play it.
Yes, very true.
Anyway, Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, sorry, Rob.
Besides that, it's one of the most fun. I mean, fun's a very easy and shallow word to throw around when you're describing video games, but it was just such pure fun. Rambling around the open world of Dragon's Dogma 2 with your pawns. I love the pawn system. I loved adventuring with everybody else's pawn, especially when they create really funny ones. So I had Randy Newman, created by Secret Boss, and I had Barry Chuckle. Those were like,
oh, good Lord,
my two adventurers, along with Cassiopeia, my own pawn. And it was just the bond you form with them. They only have they have a few stock phrases that they say. They've not got loads of lines of dialogue, but the personalities that come out of these characters and the bond you create with them is up there with the most invested I've been in character relationships, I think, in any game. And I thought that was an amazing achievement, and just the emergent chaos of this open world, how no two journeys through one place are ever the same. The way that a griffin can just land and you could be fighting it on a cliff edge and it stumbles and starts falling off the cliff and takes you down with it, or it will fly off to its nest with you dangling off its back, or the case of where you can push a cyclops or an ogre over a chasm and they'll be dangling on and create like a little bridge you can walk across. Like, this sort of mad stuff happens all the time, and it's just a real proper old school adventure, I thought, Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah.
And I just loved it.
It really nails that, all the best kind of open world games that you care to name. One of the big things I think that makes them so loved is the sort of random encounters, not like in a JRPG, that sort of, but like those literally random moments.
Yeah.
And that is a big thing in Dragon's Dogma 2. The
unscripted
clash of unscripted, like you're having a massive battle with one beast and then suddenly something else stumbles in, like you said, takes you across the map, something that nobody could have predicted, and it isn't written. It's just something that the game has rolled some dice behind the scenes, and it happens.
I think quite a lot of the time that stuff is written, because I've seen, having encountered some of it, I then see similar scenarios happening when I see other people's videos online, and I think that's even more impressive.
It is
that they've programmed some of these scenarios to probably happen if you trigger a certain series of criteria, but they disguise it so cleverly that it just feels organic, and that's amazing.
That's the thing, isn't it? You never want to feel like you've triggered a scripted thing.
No,
you always want to feel like you're having an experience that no one else is having, and those games that can at least make you feel that way, like, that's extremely special.
Yeah, just great. I loved it. I love a game where you can journey and you can walk for half an hour and you can turn around, and in the distance you can just see the town that you came from. The amount of times I would do that in Dragon's Dogma 2, just find myself on a beach, turn around and be like, oh, that's where I came from. And there's a griffin just arcing through the sky.
Yeah.
And then you can ride the griffin and then just see where on earth it takes you, and you're like, whee!
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
So, Dave, back to you then. We've had your runner-up.
Yes.
What is your Game of the Year 2024 so far?
Yeah, well, I don't think it will be a surprise to anyone, and I also think I'm going to steal two things you said about Dragon's Dogma, Rob. One in a kind of disparaging way, but I think it's just so true for Helldivers 2, which is my Game of the Year so far. And that is that it is just fun. It's just really good fun, and it is a bit of an empty sentiment. And most games, I'm sure, are trying to be fun, but it nails it. And I think that I've been trying to kind of understand why, and I think it's partly to do with the tone of the game. It's like, it's not a game that in any way takes itself seriously. And I think that as a player, you just absorb that, and it enables you to have much more fun because you're not taking it so seriously. It's ultimately, it's kind of like a squad-based shooter. And I've played other games that you could describe as squad-based shooters, and I found it quite stressful and tense, and I have not enjoyed losing, and I have not enjoyed my teammates killing me, or I've not enjoyed a badly thrown grenade. those are all things that I have enjoyed in Helldivers 2. I've had probably as much fun losing a game in Helldivers 2 as I have had winning a game in Helldivers 2. And that is a huge testament to what a fantastic and fun game it is. And I think that it should be studied to understand how they have managed that. But I do think it's just because of the tone. The tone is just one of fun, and it's an outrageous world. An outrageous the missions are outrageous, the weaponry is outrageous, the way that this civilization of Super Earth kind of conducts itself is outrageous, and it just means that the pressure is off when you play it. It's just I have really good fun with it.
Well, I felt like I'd missed the boat with Helldivers 2 because it came out at a very similar time to another game that I'll be talking about in a sec. But it's so easy to pick up and play, and you often get these online games that, the barrier to entry, you've got to get to if everyone else gets to a certain level, you can feel like you get left behind.
Yes.
But that doesn't feel like the case with Helldivers 2. And I remember playing it on a live stream with you both and with Alex, and immediately feeling quite at home and at ease with everything. And like I was part of the crew. And just the simple act of getting in your little pod at the beginning, all four of you stand on those little platforms and just get fired off down to the planet. It's just cool. It immediately creates like a sense of we're the Helldivers.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean about the tone. It's like somehow immediately you get the game. You get that it's a bit tongue-in-cheek and silly and funny, and you just become like, cool.
It's when my Helldiver just starts screaming from the top of their lungs like
like
I'm like, here we go.
It's
like
just
it even makes it funny when you make mistakes. Like
it does.
When I accidentally, I inputted the wrong thing. Like I wanted to call like just a supply drop and ended up summoning a hell bomb. And I was like, oh God, sorry everyone.
to see everyone's leg it.
It's just genius. It's absolutely genius. And I think like I don't know, it does make it so easy for anyone to join. I think that, we spoke a little bit to the developers about this before the game came out, and I remember something he said which really stuck with me, and I think it's partly why it's so accessible and why you can pick it up and play with people who've been playing loads, is that there really isn't like progression in that game. You are always a soft human. Your character is always a soft human. You are vulnerable. Everyone is vulnerable. Whether you're a level 1 or you're a level 100, you are a vulnerable character. It doesn't really matter too much because you have if you die, you have a raft of a bunch more people you can just drop. You can just come back. It's fine. But B, like, you are vulnerable, but you also have these mad weapons right from the start. You have crazy weapons. Like, you can be a level 1 and feel like you are, and you not just feel like you are doing something. You can always do something. You can be inputting the codes. You can be shooting the enemies. You can be calling in some massive artillery. It's not like you start with like a little grenade and you're just a bit sad when you see someone just put down this massive, like, call in a massive airstrike. You can have like a massive airstrike right from the start of the game, so you can always be a part of it. You don't feel like you've missed out on the best weapons, the best armor, the best skills or whatever. I think right from the start you can be a valued and valuable member of that team, and that's like really special in a game about kind of a game as live service, a game about progression, where they want you to keep leveling up and getting new stuff. Of course, as you level up, you are getting more ways to be dangerous, but you are dangerous right from the start, but you are also vulnerable right from the start and 100 hours into the game. And it's a very clever balance, which a lot of games as live service don't have, where I think you can feel like, oh, I'm behind the curve now and I don't have the best stuff and I won't ever catch up, and everyone else's character's better than mine. And it's like, it's not really like that in Helldivers, which I think is really clever. But it's amazing. It's earned its spot as my game of the year so far. I haven't played nearly enough of it. I'm like level 15. I want to be so much higher. I want to play so much more. But every time I play it, I come out with a story, an anecdote, a funny thing, and I've watched endless content online about it. Just so much. Again, the random encounters or the unlikely, unscripted things that happen. mean that pretty much every game is unique, and you do have something where you can tell a war story. Basically, it's great.
I really enjoyed just imagining then like a character creation screen where it's like soft human or soft human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which race would you like to be?
Yeah.
Squishy flesh or
soft
squishy
human,
flesh?
please.
That's exactly the sort of thing they would put in
I will
Helldivers 2,
build
I
a
think.
soft human.
Yeah.
Rosie,
Yes.
I wonder what your game of the year 2024 so far is.
My game of the year in 2024 so far came out in January, and it was and is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
No way.
Who saw this one coming?
Who would have believed it?
Who would have believed
You're such
it?
a roller coaster, Rosie. Roller coaster Rosie.
I'm so just varied in my interests. No, I mean, even despite the fact that I'm a big fan of the Yakuza and the Like a Dragon series, this game is just phenomenal. It's just so fantastic. It looks gorgeous. It like the way that they've done Hawaii, and it just looks so bright and vibrant and colorful. And then you can, even when it rains in Hawaii, you can still feel like just the humid heat that's around the areas. Everyone's still walking around in their t-shirts and stuff. Either way, it just looks fantastic. And in terms of the cutscenes as well, like you can so see just the expressions and the emotions in all of the characters from all of those cutscenes. The moment where Ichiban's about to ask someone who he fancies on a date, like I was fully rooting, not only because Ichiban is my favorite protagonist, I think, in any video game, but also just because you can see this character giving it, like, you know, fully preparing for this big, huge, impactful moment in their life. And I mean, I was completely hooked from the very beginning of this game. Like you said, Dave, with Helldivers, it doesn't take itself, like Helldivers doesn't take itself seriously, but Infinite Wealth and the Yakuza series, all in all, also, that when they do take themselves seriously, it's like, you know, they're fantastic moments, but also the majority of the game is they know they're a video game. They know that you're just going to go in and want to have a fun time, and there's silly moments. So it fully celebrates the fact that it is a video game, and it celebrates just loads of video games in general, from having homages to different games. And for example, Crazy Eats Delivery, the main sort of character for that mini game, it has the very similar design to Axel from the Crazy Taxi series with the green hair and everything. It's so just like a beautiful reference. And just talking about the side content in general, there is so much to do, but I never felt overwhelmed. It was the perfect amount for the size of the game, for the challenges they provide to just do all of this stuff. Be it that you want to play a game of Sicko Snap where you take pictures of people, you want to do your...
What?
Yeah,
Sorry,
well,
you can't just casually mention
sickos.
Yeah, so specifically sickos, what you do is you take pictures, and then the idea is
Of
then...
sickos?
Yeah, like all they're doing is they're just sort of like parading the town wearing what they called like tight outfits that strap around the shorts, and then they kind of go straps over the shoulders. What are they
Mankini?
called? But it's not a mankini. It's that style, but it's more shorts.
Oh, I don't know.
What are they called? But either way,
Just like a one-piece
like
swimsuit.
yeah, like a one-piece swimsuit, but yeah. Like that, essentially. I don't know what they're called, but they're just, you know...
Sickos.
But they like pop up here and there, and you have to take pictures of them and stuff. There's the Crazy Eats Delivery, where, you know, you're on the bike and you have to do these cool stunts and deliver food to people who have ordered it. There's a dating app game. There's even a lot of stuff from Yakuza Like a Dragon, such as the Can Quest. That's still there and everything. There's just so much to do in it, and just I haven't even spoken about the story for the game. Like I'm just bouncing. I love this game so much, and the story for the game is just wonderful. It's so wonderful to see, not only because I think this party for an RPG is one of the best parties in an RPG, which is, you know, I love so many characters and stuff, but this party, I genuinely feel they are a crew, they are friends, and the whole game sort of goes around through themes of appreciation for your friends, helping each other out, learning to depend on your friends more and not shoulder all the burdens. Even though you want to, it's sometimes healthier and better if you do share the responsibilities, or say, okay, come help me out with this thing. And in general, there's loads of themes of forgiveness. There are some characters who you meet up. I mean, when you start the game, the first new character you're introduced to, Tomizawa, he, gets you in the taxi and then tries to rob you. But Ichiban, being one of like a role model to humans, it like learns about forgives him and still calls him his buddy, and then goes out to help him because he can see the good in him still, and he can still see that he was up against rough circumstances, and he can just see in his eyes from the get-go. Like, there's a moment when Tomizawa's pulled a gun on him and he's like, come on, give me your mobile phone and stuff, and he says you're not going to shoot me, it's not in your eyes. And it's just the ending scene, it was one of those moments where when I finished the game, I was thinking about it for at least 2 weeks after it. And when a story for a game, it was the same with Persona 3 Reload when I fully processed the ending for that. But when a game, you finish it and the ending sticks with you and you're still thinking about it. And I even rewatched it on YouTube with the music playing and the meaning behind it. It was just so good. And I can't wait for the next installment. I can't wait to see where this party goes, how the story's gonna go. But essentially, this game had me laughing, it had me crying, it had me scream for joy, it had me be like, what's going on here? It had me intense. It had me have like every single emotion you could possibly had. I had it with Infinite Wealth, and I feel like I've rambled on long enough. And also the music's great. The music's great.
It's a shame that there hasn't been a game you've really enjoyed this year, Rosie, but hopefully the next 6 months.
It's a shame, yeah. It's a shame that I just don't have anything to add to this conversation, really.
Like the Like a Dragon series, Rosie, for people who have not played it yet, and you're
like Rob and I,
you're an evangelist, obviously, for this series. Can you jump in this game, or do you have to have played any other games before it in the series? Like, is it it feels quite overwhelming. I think there are so many games in this series now. To someone who knows, okay, I get these games are good. Is it too late for me to jump in now?
I wouldn't say it's too late to jump into it now, but because I've had a couple of people ask me this, and at first I would say, oh yes, you can jump into Infinite Wealth, but the more I've been thinking about it, now I've finished it, I would say probably at least do Yakuza Like a Dragon first, so you can learn more about Ichiban and his crew of friends and stuff. And also, it's a fantastic game and one of my favorite games of all time, so I'd always just say, play Yakuza Like a Dragon, just play that one. But I wouldn't, if you're willing to accept that you don't know maybe all the details of Kiryu's story, like the game does cover some of the basics and stuff like that with it, but there are some moments where, for example, characters might come back, and the impact I felt, okay, I'll just say it. Spoilers if you don't want to hear this at all, but there's a moment where you have a fight with 3 characters who Kiryu has been with throughout the entire series, and when they sort of pop up, first of all you're like, oh my gosh, they're all back together, and they're talking about how they're all much older now and there's not really much they can do for the situation that they're in and everything, and they've had to go into hiding. But then when you have a fight with them, it does a beautiful moment where when the enemy gets to like a certain health, you warp into this arena, and around you have memories from throughout the entire series of these characters interacting and stuff, and that's such a moment where you're just looking back on the series and you're thinking, wow, I've had such an adventure with these characters and stuff. But that's not answering your question. If you're willing to like play Infinite Wealth and realize there are going to be a couple of things you'll miss, then you can get away with just playing it. But I would always recommend at least do Yakuza Like a Dragon. But I think even Yakuza Like a Dragon, that one has a couple of moments where you might learn a bit more about the story behind Kiryu and stuff like that as well. So, I mean, really, I just say play all of them anyway, because they're all really, really good. And people who have played it have messaged me and said, I love this series. And I'm like, yes, I love this.
Well, we've had years of this, Rosie. I mean, I've always wanted to play. I've always wanted to play them.
Yeah.
I don't know what stopped me. The only thing that stopped me is I struggle with knowing I'm facing 100 hours of, I'm getting in and going like, here we go, 100-hour game. Just because that's not how I play games. I play lots of little bits of lots rather than investing my time. And because obviously Holly, before you, I don't know. Was it Holly who introduced you to Yakuza?
It was a mixture of Holly and also I've got a friend called Chloe, and she loves the series as well.
Right.
And then she kept on talking about it to my boyfriend, and then it was my boyfriend who was the first one to be like, I think it was like our first anniversary of dating, or maybe our 6-month anniversary, and he just bought Yakuza 0. None of us. He was like, right, let's listen to Chloe and let's just try this game. And ever since, the rest was history.
Well, Holly, would also talk very lovingly about those games, and I've always wanted to play, and I never have. And every time I hear you talk about it, probably like Rob, why he asked you that question, was thinking like, oh, it does sound good.
I have played Yakuza 4.
Okay.
That's a great one. That's a really good one.
It was very, very good.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. They're all just fantastic. Oh,
Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year.
Go on, Dave.
It
Treat
won't
yourself.
Anyway,
God, I feel all warm now after that.
time to talk about the real best game of the year, 2024
we all
so
made
far.
fun about Rosie being quite predictable.
Yes.
Rob. And should we make fun of you being
Please
quite
do.
Remember earlier in the podcast when you said I was quite presumptuous?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
But you are, of course.
Yes.
Assuming you meant Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yes.
Which, barring an absolute miracle, is going to be my game of the year, definitely, for 2024, because it's the best game I've played probably in 5 years, I will say. It went so far above what I thought it could be. Like, I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. Rebirth is such a different game. It's one of those sequels that isn't just the first game done a little bit better, maybe with better graphics. Like, structurally it's completely different by necessity, because Remake is the section of Final Fantasy VII that you will know now, Dave, having played Disc 1, is set within
I'm a pro now.
Midgar. It's the first 5 hours of Final Fantasy VII, 5 hours or so, and by its nature that means, okay, everything's going to be set in one place. Rebirth picks up just when you leave Midgar, so it's like the world opening for the first time.
Yeah.
And that feeling that you get often in open world games, where you leave the starting area, wherever it is, typically it's like a prison or a cave, something quite oppressive and enclosed, and then the game sort of spits you out. Often you'll get like a tunnel with a light at the end of it, and you're like, oh, wow, look at this world. You get that feeling constantly for about 100 hours in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's like 6 open worlds in one. The hubs you get are just incredible, and it's an amazing reimagining of the original Final Fantasy VII, which I've been remembering having watched you play through it, Dave.
Yeah.
And if anything, it's made me even more impressed with what they've done with Rebirth when I consider what they had to work with when it comes to the original game. So like a small slab of featureless PS1 era grass has been turned into this. I'm talking about Gongaga, for example, here. In the original Final Fantasy VII, it's just some trees on the world map, a bit of grass, and a little village that you don't even have to go to. It's optional. And in Rebirth, they've turned it into this beautiful, lush jungle area with amazing traversal puzzles. And like you were saying with Like a Dragon, Rosie, there's so much additional stuff to do.
Yeah.
So much side content. Like, there's an incredible amount of game in there. It took me 110 hours to finish the story on my first playthrough. And that wasn't doing everything. Like, I've still got a bunch of stuff to go back and finish, which I've been really enjoying doing, and I'm still playing this game now. Obviously not as intensely as I was when I was trying to get through the story, but like every time I get a spare moment, let's dip back into Rebirth. I've still got quests to mop up, still got mini games to complete on hard mode. I've still got to do my hard mode run through of the story.
Yeah, how far did you get on that? Or
I've not even started my
No,
hard
you've started,
mode.
but
I'm
you're still ready
mopping
for
up
it.
side quests,
Yeah.
and then after that, I'm gonna attempt the hard mode run through. But it's such an eccentric game. It's such a vibrant game, which I think is really strange and refreshing for a AAA, what you'd call a AAA blockbuster game. Often they're quite prescribed and they'll follow a certain set number of rules. And I think open world games, open world games have got it down now in 2024. I feel like everyone who's making an open world game, they know what works in an open world, what doesn't. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it's like they don't care about that. They're just going for it. It feels like every wacky idea that the dev team have had, they're just like, yeah, let's put it in the game. Let's put in a game where everyone turns into a frog and they have to jump over a little Fall Guys style rotating beam. Yeah, let's put that in there.
No, let's give it its own song. Let's make a song for this segment.
Oh god, yeah, it's great. And I mean, you know the dolphin bit, Dave, where you have to get the dolphin to leap you up onto the beam in June, and that's now like a whole little race course. There's like a little dolphin race course. The Chocobo racing, it's like, that could be a game on its own. I would literally buy that. I would buy Chocobo Racing the game. It's like Crash Team Racing, but on a bird. It's so good. Like, Dave, you did the one track that you have to do in the story.
Yeah.
They've got loads of different tracks, and you can dress up your Chocobos in loads of different gear, and the different gear has different effects on the Chocobo speed, acceleration, cornering, all of this kind of thing. It's just amazing. And that's not even mentioning the story, which obviously there are going to be people who haven't played the original Final Fantasy VII, and so maybe they're not going to have as much impact from the story as someone like me who's loved the original for over 25 years now. But the moment right at the end, like the ending of the game, and you've played up to the point now, Dave, where Rebirth ends at the end of disc 1 of the original. It's such an I would argue it is the most iconic scene in video game history. So famous. Everyone, even if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, most people know about this scene. And the build up to it was just so intense. And the game knew it. And it's such an emotional build up. And for anyone who hasn't played Rebirth yet, I won't spoil, what happens there. But it was, an incredible cocktail of emotions that I was feeling at that point in the game, which I don't think any game has ever done. But what I really love about it is how, the story's still not finished yet. There's still a part 3 to come. And I really enjoy this period of time we're in now, this theory crafting cycle between games where everyone gets to discuss the ending. You were talking about how the ending to Like a Dragon stuck with you for weeks after you'd finished it, Rosie. I'm still thinking about the ending to Rebirth now. Yeah. Like, I'm still listening to podcasts about it. I'm still reading articles about it. I'm still searching for anyone who's got any sort of take on it at all, because I just want to know, what do you think it means? What could possibly be happening next? How are they going to approach the next game in the series? And I just love being a part of that. I don't think any game series or story has done this before, where it is one story told across 3 games. You have sequels before, but it's not like, it's not following the same singular story. It's just like, okay, here's the next adventures of these characters. It's like, it's one thing. It's one story told across, goodness knows how many years it's going to be by the time the final part comes out. And it's just amazing to be part of that. And the fact that they've just done it so well, like, I was scared when they announced they were remaking Final Fantasy VII. Like I always say to you, Dave, imagine if they remade the original Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
But they just nailed it. And they nailed all of your favorite characters, and they brought them to life in a way that you could never believe possible.
Yeah.
And it was just brilliantly done.
I can't imagine it. And I know the fear as well. I was scared when they made the sequel movies. Didn't want them to make Star Wars sequels.
No.
After not loving the prequels. So I do understand that fear. And so, I mean, that is an amazing analogy. The idea of someone remaking Star Wars in a way that I found to be like additive and valuable.
Well, that's the thing.
Good.
Like, it's not just retelling the same story either. They've upped the stakes, and they've opened the possibility that things could be different this time. And so it adds this whole emotional investment that I wasn't expecting to have. I was expecting to just play a prettier version of a game I already knew about. But instead, as well as that, I'm now getting this really thrilling, I'm just here thinking, man, I've got to look after myself these next 3 or 4 years. I have to make it. I have to make it to when part 3 comes out. Whatever happens, I just have to be there.
Just have to be there when it happens.
I have to know. I have to play that game, part 3, whenever it's going to be called, whenever it's going to arrive. I have to be there.
Yeah, what I wanted to add, Rob, was when you were talking about like the emotions that you feel for for example, one of the most iconic scenes in video games, what I really liked with Rebirth and Remake is that not only do you get those emotions, but then you do get new emotions with the way the Rebirth and Remake sort of have their own twists and things like that going on with things. So you'd go in there expecting to feel the same emotions you did last time, which you do, but then they're also merged into something else of like awe and confusion and intrigue. Yeah, like everything just to make you even more just like, I'm crying, but also what's going on? I don't know what's happening. So it's just like to get that emotion from fans and people who might not have played Final Fantasy VII before. It's just wonderful how they've been able to do that.
And it's just amazing as well. Like the combat system's great. It's so cool. It's like playing Advent Children. Even better than that. And the music is, I think, one of, if not the best soundtracks I've ever heard in a game.
Which is a very big claim.
That's so good. Just like when you're...
Bow, wow, wow, bow, wow, wow.
Not that one, Rosie.
Why, it's so catchy.
When you're in the middle of an epic battle and the music hits a really exciting climax and it times perfectly with Cloud doing a limit break and it's you feel amazing.
And then you have Bow Wow Wow stuck in your head for another hour.
Not that one, Rosie. Anyway, some amazing games have come out so far this year.
Yeah.
We have been spoiled, but we must move on. We are going to move on from our main feature, and we're going to be taking a look now at the community highlights from the hashtag Pod Squad.
Pod Squad.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time
for comments of the week.
I think I said comments of the week then, but whatever.
This is the POM edition.
It's been like a month.
You styled it out, Dave.
Thanks.
So we've got some comments here from our lovely community who have been talking about their own picks for 2024 Game of the Year so far, because, believe it or not, there are some games we haven't even mentioned yet.
I do believe
this
it.
Year.
Don't get Rosie started, by the way.
Did you hear how many runner-ups I
She's got
had?
loads. Oni says, my Game of the Year so far is Rise of the Ronin.
Yeah.
Even after platinuming it and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Yakuza and Stellar Blade
Oh my
and
God.
Persona 3
Oh, wow.
and Dragon's Dogma 2
What?
and Sandland.
No, I'm sorry. There's not been enough hours in the year so far.
What are you doing, Oni? How are you doing this? Even after platinuming all of those, Rise of the Ronin, they say, is a game that is truly a complete package. Alex has been loving Rise of the Ronin. I have not played it since my initial sort of like 5 or 6 hour journey in it, just because I've been hooked back into Rebirth and Dragon's Dogma 2. But yeah, how Oni has gone and platinumed all those games, I don't know.
I genuinely, like, even just thinking about Rebirth by itself, like that is how have you squeezed it all in?
And Rise of the Ronin definitely does deserve a mention when we're talking about games of the year so far. It's a fantastic game, and I enjoyed it so much more than I thought I would, actually. Having not fared so well with the Neo games.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about Rise of the Ronin, and I'm going to use it again, but it's just really good fun. As soon as you get into the open world, all the areas are really good fun. I love the gameplay.
More
loop.
approachable than
Much
Neo,
more approachable,
for sure. Yeah,
and it has that open world thing that, like for Elden Ring, that works really well, where you have just so much more options now. You do, if you get stuck in an area, you can try a different area, so it feels much more welcoming and easy. It's not an easy game, but easy to get into, because you don't have to. If you're stuck somewhere, you can just go somewhere else.
Yeah,
it's great.
Grappling hook glider combo as well.
Yeah,
just needs to be in all
Please.
games. Brian Hall, with a bit of a left field pick, says, so for a personal pick, I've been the most impressed with Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden.
Ooh.
I truly was not expecting that game to hook me the way it did, and I confess I've not played Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden yet.
Me neither.
No, I know that, if she was here, Ashley Millman was playing this, and she was really interested in the story and how everything was going to pan out. I remember in morning meetings, she'd all come in, well, not all, as if there's multiple versions, but she'd come in and tell us all about her little adventures and things like that. So I know she thoroughly enjoyed it as well.
Is it scary?
I think it's more like
ghosts.
Spooky. Like, yeah, not scary. I mean, I haven't played it myself, but from the vibes I get from it, it's more like a spooky tale rather than
I'll give it a look.
Yeah, I think
give it a look.
I think it's the kind of spook that you'd enjoy, I think.
Okay.
TJ Yakuri says Stellar Blade.
Yeah.
Great action with good graphics and amazing music. A really beautifully succinct summation there.
Yeah.
Good game. Good graphics, great music.
They should do a podcast. They do better than us on the podcast. It's like, well, let me tell you.
Why do you
why.
like this game? Graphics, good. Gameplay, good. Music, good.
They keep on saying we're running over with our podcast timings. Whereas if we take this approach.
Adstar19 says, Another Crab's Treasure is a surprisingly very good game. It's Spyro the Dragon Sekiro Edition. That's how they've described it.
Wow.
I was also thinking of putting that in the runners-up, but I'm still very early on in it, so I'm still like playing it and stuff. But that's a very, very good game. I'm thoroughly enjoying that at the moment.
I've heard good things.
Yeah.
And it's been on my radar, but never more so than when I hear Spyro Sekiro Edition.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Like you go in, it's all lovely and colourful, and you're in the ocean having a lovely time, and then it's just, you know, that as soon as you come across a fish, one slap and it's like your health's gone down.
Terrifying.
So, yeah, and then you have...
That's what the ocean's actually like. It's dangerous out there.
You have like your little shells and stuff as well, and they all give you not only defense but different abilities, and also it's a really funny game. Yeah. I've laughed at it multiple times. It's really well written. Like there's a character who's a loan shark, and in this world which everything is fish, the loan shark so far is the only character that's just like one of those toys that, you know, when you press the handle and its mouth goes rah, 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 rah. Like that's just what the loan shark is. But it's really wonderful game. So good pick.
Thumbs up from Rosie.
Sildarin has got a game that has been on my radar, but I still haven't played, and I really need to. Unicorn Overlord, for me, a complete 11 out of 10 experience.
Ooh, blimey.
Can't have an 11 out of 10. And a surprise one at that. Rebirth and Helldivers 2 are also in the conversation, but God, Unicorn Overlord, I couldn't stop playing it and want to replay it soon.
I can't believe it. If you're saying Helldivers 2 and Rebirth are also in the conversation.
There you haven't said Infinite Wealth.
Like, yeah, they were pretty good, but
well, the next comment is going to just blow all the other games out of the water, because Zombie Killer 2222, which can't be a real username, says Persona 3 Reload, and it isn't even close.
Wow.
Not even close.
To be said, Persona 3 Reload. Oh my gosh, what an experience that is.
Wow.
Like, even for its story, because I never played the original, but even for its story, it has an impact on you and a half. It makes you think about a lot of things.
Oh, wow.
Persona always does that.
Yeah.
Like, I've been saying for ages, Rose, you've got to play Persona 5.
I know.
You've got to play Persona 4
have.
Golden if you've not played it.
So I started
All of
playing
them are
Persona 4
amazing.
in preparation for Persona 3, and then Persona 3 Reload came out, and...
Can I admit to being confused by how you play 4 before 3, and I've played 5. What's happening?
You can just play them. I think they're all like their own games, but they've all got...
It's like Final Fantasy, where each mainline installment is a separate story, separate group of characters.
But at least Final Fantasy agrees to release consecutively. You like 1 to 16.
Well, Persona 3 is a remake of the original game.
I see.
Persona 4 has been out for ages on Vita.
I know, but that's why I was confused.
And then got released again on PS4.
Right.
And Persona 5 is the latest release, technically, of the mainline series.
And then you had Persona 5 Royal, and even Persona 3, you had the PS2 version, the PSP Fez version, and now you got Reload version, and all of them are different in their own ways.
Persona.
Let's not confuse him, Rosie.
I am confused.
By the way, Persona's great.
It is. Elliot Wilderman says it's a 3-way tie between Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Stellar Blade, and Ayuden Chronicles 100 Heroes, which is yet another game I need to play and haven't played yet.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Ship simply says Tekken 8, baby.
Tekken 8, baby!
Tekken 8, baby. Tekken 8 is great.
There are definitely people in our office who would agree.
Yes. And Ian Binion simply has 3 words, and they are Dave the Diver.
I'm glad. Do you know what? I was going to find a way to shoehorn Dave the Diver in. I was going to do a Rosie and just go, also, I just want to mention Dave the Diver.
Is that a mockery?
No, not at all, no. It's an affectionate observation. Yeah, Dave the Diver is an absolutely brilliant game. And it's so good. So much more than you think it is. It seems like a kind of cute little fun game, which feels very reductive, and it is reductive of games in general. But it's so much more. It's just, you got to play it. Really, really
when we
love
streamed it, I was thoroughly surprised by it, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I really cannot wait to play Dave the Diver myself one day.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Right, before we move on to Before We Go, we've got that fun little quiz I promised you both.
Quiz.
Ooh.
So the answers to each of these questions, not really questions, I've got 4 clues. If you listened to the previous podcast, you'll know how this goes. I'm going to read out a series of 4 words. Each word is a clue to a game that has come out so far in 2024.
Yeah.
The clues will get progressively easier as I read them out. So the first person to say the name of the game will win the point. Okay.
I'm nervous. Sorry.
I don't know any video games.
I've gotten all the games.
If you guess wrong, you'll be frozen out until the other person has had a go. And if they get it also wrong, then you're back in.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. The first clue for the first game is Trickster. The second clue, dried meat.
Dragon's Dogma 2.
Correct, Rosie.
Well played, Rosie.
Oh, it's scary.
Really, it should be Scrag of Beast.
Yeah.
Scrag of Beast is what I'd be looking for there.
And that is meat of the year,
Yes.
2024.
Oh, yeah.
So far.
We
Meat
haven't
of
even
the
mentioned
year.
the great meat in Dragon's Dogma 2. 1-0 to Rosie then.
Yeah.
Here we go. Number 2. Penguin.
Suicide Squad.
Correct, Dave.
Oh,
Correct.
well done.
Yes. I just needed one. I needed one.
Suicide Squad killed the Justice League to give it its full name.
Yes, which I should have done. Thank you.
It's 1-1 going into game number 3. Here we go. Meteor.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Incorrect, Rosie. The second clue. Game Arcade. The third clue. Remember, Rosie, you can't come in again until
I'm still thinking.
until Dave's given a wrong answer. The third clue. Panda.
Tekken 8.
It's correct. So Rosie's going to be kicking us
I literally did that panda. That was the meteor at the end of Blooming Tekken 8.
Oh, that was
I'm sorry, I just thought of the main meteor threat in Final Fantasy VII
a
Rebirth.
deliberate red herring, I think, there from Secret Boss.
well done.
It's 2-1 to Dave. Who would
Panda,
believe
I
it?
love Panda.
Right, here we go. Next game. Clue number 1. Mushrooms.
The Last of Us Part 2 remastered.
Incorrect, Rosie. Jump in there with the hardest clue.
You just need to look at my face before you answer. If I'm like this, you just don't need to bother saying anything, Rosie.
Clue number 2. Minecart. Clue number 3. Parade.
Is this Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
It is, David.
Oh.
It's 3-1. It's 3-1, and there's only
Believe this.
there's only 3 games left. So Rosie, you need all of these.
I think I've
for
had
a win.
legitimate guesses though.
You've had good
You
guesses,
have,
Rosie.
but incorrect ones.
But they've been wrong.
3-1 to Dave. Game number 5. Clue number 1. Sarcophagus.
I think I know what it is, but I'm not saying
Really?
it.
Well, okay.
Clue number 2. Gardening.
Persona 3 Reload?
It's not right, Rosie. Clue number 3. Time loop.
I know what it is.
I know what it is. Gardening's really thrown me. I would have had a go, but gardening, I'm not sure. And then the fact that Rosie knows has also thrown me. So I wait.
Clue number 4. I'm going to give you 5 seconds after I've read clue number
Fair
4,
enough.
Dave, and then Rosie's back in.
Okay.
Clue number 4. Space. Rosie's back in.
Ultros.
It's correct, Rosie.
Ultros is one of my favourite
Dave
games
should have
of the
got
year.
that.
so far.
That's why I
Dave
was
should have got
freaking
that.
Oh
out.
my god! I can't believe this. It's all nice.
It's 3-2.
Gardening was such an obvious clue.
See, I
as well.
thought that was like
It's all to play for.
you can do gardening on the rooftop in Persona, and I was like, maybe that, but
Oh, I'm so
it was
embarrassed.
It's 3-2.
It's my turn
was
to be
the time
embarrassed,
limit.
Rosie. Well
Dave,
done.
you still just need one more for the win.
Yeah.
Here we go. Game number 6. Clue number 1. Wolf. Clue number 2. Dogs. Clue number 3. Dinosaur.
What?
Clue number 4. No return.
The Last of Us Part 2 remastered.
Correct, Rosie. Rosie makes it 3-all.
Oh, very good.
Rosie's
Very
level
good.
is
Very
3-all.
good clues as well.
Here we go. This is it. The decider. Clue number 1. Cats.
Stellar Blade.
Incorrect, David.
I've given it away now.
Oh, clue number 2. Photography. Clue number 3.
Oh no.
Glider.
Yes, Rise of the Ronin.
Correct, Rosie.
Yay!
Wow.
Ooh.
Unbelievable comeback from Rosie from 3-1 down to win 4-3.
Well done, Dave.
Thank you, Rosie. I'm sad about Ultros. I could have won it on Ultros.
Could have
A
done.
game I made a video about how much I loved. I was talking about it literally today. Oh, very sad. But that's
Wow.
yes, well played. Well played.
That's
There we
the
go.
way of the quiz.
Some more games there that have come out this year that we haven't even spoken about.
know.
Ultros being one of them.
Yeah, Ultros.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League being another.
Yeah,
The Last of Us Part 2 remastered.
I know.
Amazing.
I mean, No
games.
Return is just on its own.
Yeah.
Like you said about Chocobo Racing, I'd play No Return could just be a game on its own. It's fantastic.
Well, that brings us to the end of this podcast. But before we go, it's time for Bibo Bibo.
Yay, Bibo Bibo!
And yes, let's go there now. Right, before we go then, we've talked a little bit about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And I want to just point out, if anyone's missed it, that the adventures of Dave Strife and Robin Hagen are now continuing
We're back,
by
baby.
popular demand.
Yes.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. British summertime? Yes, we're in
Yes,
British
that's
summertime.
right.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Yeah, it's summertime now. And yeah, playing from the start of Disc 2, and the plan is to just keep playing all the way until the end of the game, unless people just get sick of it and stop watching,
Yeah.
at which point we will stop.
Please don't though, because I really want to finish Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I wanna see you finish it.
And then after that, I want to play. It's not all about me, but I'm really excited to play Remake and Rebirth.
I would love to hear what you make of both of those games,
Yeah.
but Rebirth in particular.
It's like honestly,
I want you to like them.
Yeah,
I
I
want
want,
you
to
to like
like them.
them.
I mean, I have a very, I don't know. I was going to say very unexpectedly really enjoyed Final Fantasy VII. Obviously, it's one of the most highly regarded games of all time. I wasn't doubting that, but I thought it, without having any sort of prior knowledge of it or prior love for it, that it might be just a bit too old now. You know, like sometimes you
Yeah.
go back. I know, Rosie, I'm talking to someone who loves retro games, and retro games, it's not a bad word, but sometimes I'm someone who likes mod cons. I like the mod cons,
Yeah.
and some old games are lacking in mod cons, and I thought,
sure.
am I going to struggle with Final Fantasy VII?
Save points.
It's
The
save
idea
points.
of save points, yeah.
Just, is it going to be a bit clunky? Is it going to be a bit ugly? There's no voice acting in it. Am I going to have to read everything? I'll get bored of that. Is the writing going to be very good? Is it like all of these stupid concerns, which literally zero of which have come to fruition, and I should never have worried anyway. It's a fantastic game, surprise. But I've so enjoyed playing it. I've so enjoyed doing this series. To make me play it, have the opportunity to play it, and it has now opened my eyes and the possibilities to come back and play Remake and Rebirth. It's something I'm genuinely really
And
excited to do.
those are two games with all the mod con bells
exactly,
and whistles.
exactly. So I have no reservations about that, and I do. I have feelings for these characters now. I've had stories with these characters. They mean things to me now, and we're only halfway through the game or whatever.
Biggs and Wedge.
Exactly.
And Jesse.
So I have that emotional connection to this game, albeit maybe a different one to someone who played it when they were a child, but it just means I can't wait to play on. To play on and see how this story ends. And then I'm so excited hearing you guys talk about the surprise that you've had.
You've got some great
with
stuff
remake
to come.
and rebirth.
Literally this whole time I'm like, oh, you're going to have a roller coaster of a
Not
time.
only is it you're going to get to experience the rest of Final Fantasy VII, which is amazing, then you get to play Remake and Rebirth, and then you get to be excited about the next game, knowing what's probably to come, having played the rest of Final Fantasy VII.
And I'd love that.
That's the best bit.
I am jealous of everybody in the team who's, was excited about Rebirth at the same time.
Well, the thing is, you've got time now. You've got time to catch up and be in our little excited boat.
I want to be in the WhatsApp
little
group.
excited boat.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. There we go. What a year 2024 has been so far.
Yeah.
Please do let us know in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube or just on social media what your favourite picks are of the year so far. Do check out the YouTube channel because we have loads more videos on everything from the world of PlayStation. And in the meantime, check out the streams every Monday, Final Fantasy VII. It's going to be great. And we'll see you in another 2 weeks for another episode of the PlayStation Access podcast. Goodbye for now.
Bye.